welcome to Relish Books. I am really excited about today's video because it is one that is just for fun. And today I'm talking about book titles. I love book titles and I love making lists. So I made a list of 50 book titles that are just appealing, that just make you want to read the book or know more about the book. These are titles that you're walking through the library or the bookstore or whatever, and you just see the title, and just from the title, it catches you and intrigues you, makes you want to read it, to know more, makes you pull it out. Like not even knowing the author, not knowing anything about it other than the title. Like you can't even see the cover. You only see like the spine. You only know the title, and just from that, you want to read the book. So, a couple things before I start reading my list. This is a very just random list. Ones that came to mind for a lot of different reasons. And so, it's not like supposed to be the 50 best titles of all time. It's just ones that stand out to me and are appealing. My personal taste is kind of more towards the poetic and the unusual. And I also want to say that for sure, some of the best books, maybe even most of the best books I've ever read, did not have these titles, did not have the really pleasing, pleasant sounding title. A lot of the greatest books in the world have really boring titles. But that's not what I'm talking about today. Today I'm talking about these fun ones. One other thing, I tried to avoid putting on the list any books that have titles that are taken from other literature. So if you look up lists of great book titles, a lot of those will be on there. One of the biggest ones that stand out to me is Something Wicked This Way Comes. It's one of the greatest book titles of all time, but it is a line from Macbeth. And so it's like, I tried to stick to ones that I felt like the author had come up with on their own. Not saying that I don't like titles that are taken from literature. A lot of the time they do make the greatest titles. Like Far from the Madding Crowd that I just read, that's from a poem. A lot of the lists that I saw had, which I don't even care that much for this one, but Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. And if you don't know, that's actually from a Sherlock Holmes story, that title. And also that's just a horrendous book. I tried to read it once. It was awful. So don't ever read it. But yeah, that title is taken from something. So I avoided the titles that I knew were directly taken from other literature. And there might be some on here that are referencing literature that I just didn't pick up on. So excuse me for that. But I am super excited to share with you these titles that sound great to me, and most of the ones on this list I have read, but a fat chunk of them I have not. These are just titles that stood out that I might read someday, that I know something about the books and know that I will never read, but they still sound great just from their title. So here we go. Number one. Also, these are not in any particular kind of order. Some of my favorites actually appear more towards the end, so just a random order. Number one, I have Look Homeward, Angel, which I do think is just one of the most beautiful titles ever, and it's why I read the book. Number two, Lonesome Dove. Again, just beautiful title, makes me want to read the book. Number three, The Great Gatsby. This is a brilliant title. It's especially brilliant when you've read the book, but even not having read it, I think it is an attractive title. Number four, Like Water for Chocolate. An amazing title. So interesting and intriguing. A very, very weird book. I tried to read that one as well. It is what's called the magical realism genre, I believe. And it's very weird. Not at all my thing. I don't think I made it through. It was something else, but a gorgeous title. Number five, Their Eyes Were Watching God. I just read this book recently. I just made a video about it a while ago. Gorgeous title, brilliant title, and a gorgeous book as well. Number six, All the Light We Cannot See. Great title. And it really makes more sense when you read the book, but it is a great title. Maybe a little overrated, but the title did make me want to read the book for sure. For Whom the Bell Tolls at number 7. I think that one just sounds good. It sounds interesting, makes you want to read it. Number 8, The Magician's Elephant. Perfect combination there, I think. Any title that has elephant in it is special, I feel like. And that one, putting magician in there as well, The Magician's Elephant, I think is just perfect. Number 9, To Kill a Mockingbird. Classic, elegant, and great. Number 10, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is the only Douglas Adams book that I put on here because I really think that if you are going to read Douglas Adams, you should stick to the first one and not go beyond because it just gets too wild. But all his titles are kind of like that. All his titles are fun and intriguing, but I do think the first one is the best. So I just put that one on there. 11. This is one of my all-time favorites. One of the best titles ever. And that is The Man Who Was Thursday, which is a book by G.K. Chesterton. An amazing, wild book. Highly recommend it if you like stuff to think about. 12. A Clockwork Orange. I have not read this book. I know nothing about it, but the title is amazing. 13. 100 Years of Solitude. One of the most famous books ever. I tried to read it. Could not get into it. I don't understand it at all, but it is a great title. 14. Gone with the Wind. Beautiful title. Classic. Not my favorite book in the world. I have very mixed feelings on that one. But yeah, gorgeous title. 15. The Color Purple. I feel like any book that has a color in it, a color in the title, really appeals to me. This title definitely grabbed me. Again, another book that I worked on, couldn't stomach it. It was too much for me, but beautiful title. 16, one of the most amazing titles ever and one of the most amazing books ever. That is Cry, the Beloved Country. 17, This Side of Paradise. Not a great book, but a really great title. 18, The Phantom of the Opera. Mostly this is obviously associated with the musical, but it was a book first, and a really interesting, intriguing title. 19, The Book Thief. Very simple, but for me at least, definitely grabbed me. 20, Walk Two Moons. This is it's kind of a middle of the road book, children's or young adult book. But the title was really, really intriguing. Definitely what made me read the book. 21, Breakfast at Tiffany's. This is one of those kind of playful, quirky titles, but it's not so much so. I don't like titles, like a lot of the ones that I looked at on lists were like these super long, kind of pretentious and snarky sounding titles. I don't really go for those, but this one is short and kind of, I don't know, spiffy. It's just definitely interesting, makes you want to know what it's about. I have not read it, but 22, The Cricket in Times Square. 23, The Phantom Toll Booth. Great book. 24, The Remains of the Day. This one sounds simple, but the more I've encountered it, the more I'm intrigued by it. I definitely want to read that book at some point. I haven't got to it yet. 25, Cinnamon and Gunpowder. The title sounded good. The description sounded great. Back at my local bookstore in my hometown, this was consistently the best-selling book in the store for like 3 years running or something like that. And I was like, man, I have to read this. Super intriguing plot. Terrible book. 26, The Dream Peddler. That one just appealed to me. Again, it was not a great book, but title I thought was pretty. 27, this is another of my favorites. That is The October Country by Ray Bradbury. This might actually be a collection of short stories, which I did try to avoid for the most part, but that title is just too amazing to leave out. 28. The Sky is Everywhere. I know nothing about this book, but that's a beautiful title. 29. Also Ray Bradbury, Dandelion Wine. 30. Small Things Like These, and that is a book by Claire Keegan. If you have not read anything by Claire Keegan, definitely go and do that. She is amazing. One of the most exciting writers alive today, in my opinion. 31. The Ocean at the End of the Lane. 32. Call Me By Your Name. This is one of those books that I would never read based on the stuff that I know about it, but what an amazing title. 33, When the Moon Was Ours. One I came across randomly. It's a little bit on the just like trying to sound good side. I think so, but it still does sound good to me. So, 34, The Night Circus. This one is really simple, but to me, anything that has like circus or carnival in the title, especially carnival, but it really grabs me. It just makes me want to read it. And this book, man, I have not made a video about it, but I have such mixed feelings on this book. There were so many. The idea and the building of this world in the book was incredible. I thought it was beautiful. Just not in the hands of a super competent writer, unfortunately. And it had some stuff as well, but the ideas were just amazing. Even though I really didn't like a lot of things about that book, I like loved it and hated it at the same time. 35, Behind the Beautiful Forevers. Gorgeous title, and even more interesting and brilliant when you know what it's referring to. I haven't read that book, but my older sister did, and she read it because of the title. I think she enjoyed it. But yeah, go look it up if you want to know what it's talking about. 36, The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. Not an amazing book, but a cool title. 37, Out of the Silent Planet. This is a C.S. Lewis book that I actually do not care for personally, but I think it is a gorgeous and really intriguing title. 38, Of Time and the River. That is the sequel to Look Homeward Angel. Not on the level of Look Homeward Angel with the title, but still really good. 39, As I Lay Dying. I didn't want to put this book on here because I hated it so much, but it is a great title, and the title is why I read it. So there you go. 40, The Postman Always Rings Twice. I haven't read this book, don't really know much about it. I believe it is a murder mystery. It definitely sounds like a murder mystery. It's not an Agatha Christie, but it almost sounds like it could be. But one of those really good, intriguing titles that I think is great for a mystery novel. 41, How Green Was My Valley. I think that one's pretty. 42 and 43 go together. A Long Way from Chicago and A Year Down Yonder. I feel like A Year Down Yonder is the better title of these two, but they have always been connected in my mind. They are amazing books that I think are very overlooked. I haven't really heard people talking about them. They're hilarious, they're heartwarming, beautifully written. Yeah, great books. 44, another of my all-time favorite titles ever, The Unfinished Angel. 45, 100 Names for Love. This is maybe the only nonfiction on here. These were mostly supposed to be novels, but 100 Names for Love is kind of a memoir by Diane Ackerman about, it's largely about the brain and working through the effects of, I believe it was a stroke that her husband experienced. It's an amazing book. Definitely recommend it. 46, The Name of the Wind. I do like titles that have name in there. 47, Where the Crawdads Sing. This book got so much attention a couple of years ago. It's a beautiful title. Would not recommend the book, but I do have to say it is one of the most perfectly balanced plots in a book that I have ever read. And this was a debut novel, I believe. So I was stunned by that, but still not what I would call like a good book. I wouldn't really recommend it to people, but it is brilliant, and the title is brilliant as well. 48, The Scarlet Letter. A classic, and it's very simple, but it does stand out. You're like, what is it? When I had always heard the title, I always pictured it as being like a letter, like a full letter written in red ink. That's not what it is. 49, A River Runs Through It. I actually knew of this as the name of a movie, and I was like, well, that's such a great name, and I bet it was a book first, and it was a novella actually, but what a gorgeous title. And 50, ending with just kind of a fun one, Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I've been seeing this in the bookstore, looking at it. I picked it up a couple times. Didn't really seem like I would care for it, but maybe I would. But the title definitely grabbed me, partly because I'm such a fan of coffee. But anyway, those are my 50 book titles that I just think are appealing, that make me want to read the book or make me want to know about it. But what I would really love is for people to leave in the comments some of their favorite book titles, because it's one of my favorite things, and I would just love to see what you guys like, what your favorites were from this list, and what's on your lists. So, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.